Today we've got another ranking video and it is all about defenders. We've finally got back round to the defenders side of stuff and we have now got primes, World Cup stories, we've got phenoms and also what is going on guys. Today we've got another ranking video on defenders. We've managed to finally get around to be doing the primes, the centurions, the winter wild cards and I believe the last step of World Cup cards. We've got a great selection of cards coming out for today, so let's jump straight into them. So we're going to try a different style of kind of tier list. Normally I really go in depth on each card. I'm going to just be basically going. So we're going to start off with a few of just icons in general, ones that I can see. I know late. So we're going to start off with some of the icons as we can see on screen. I'm going to try and minimize all of the scrolling as I know that was some feedback in obviously the comments with constantly going up and down. We'll see how it works and if we need to kind of go out a little bit in terms of camera size, then we'll be doing that. Berezi is the first one. Honestly, nothing needs to be said with him. He's on the low tier. He's just naturally not going to be great in this game. There is a few of the other icons that I can imagine you already know who's in this sort of category. But Berezi, give a little one there. Berezi's not necessarily going to be in anybody's team. Great defending, but unfortunately the pace does let him down. If we then go next to him with Blanc, a wonderful centre-back. In terms of stats, it's quite a different approach compared to what we actually normally get from Blanc. He naturally is so good in game. I don't even know if it's just naturally how his body type and how he works in game, because stat-wise, we've got so many centre-backs across this list that technically have better all-round stats, but it's just him in game. He's always been wonderful and definitely one of the more meta ones. Same with Desai. Can be a CDM and definitely in a moments version. He is more used in a centre defensive mid, but most definitely as a centre back is still very clinical when it comes to that role. Same with Carfu. We've seen obviously a new right back in the Brazilian icons come to fruition, and Carfu and Alberto are two of the absolute top tiers. When they do get, or if they do get an upgraded icon version, if we see any sort of campaigns with them, then that would be absolutely fantastic as well. And the big thing this year is the fact we have got alternative positions. Last year, obviously, if we wanted to use a Carlos Alberto as a centre-back, we would have to have the base. This year, we can change that 93 to a centre-back, which I think is absolutely massive, meaning we could technically have these two giant guards in the game together. And alongside all of them, Cannavaro is going to come in at that AS. Wonderful centre-back, not quite making it, unfortunately, to the top tier, but most definitely is in the running as a very good centre-back. And I think, again, one under just him as well, Campbell. A great centre-back, good pace, defending, physical's nice, but in general is just always left out of the equation. I don't know personally if it's an overall cap, because 89 is one of the lower rated icons in the game, especially for primes, but he just doesn't quite give me that solution. Roberto Carlos, another fantastic Brazilian in the defensive situation, and he's got himself a World Cup version if you really wanted that. In general, just a fantastic baller. Get the free kicks with him, which is always nice. We've obviously got good defending, pace and physical from him, and a good overall balance across all of the other stats. And then we look at another left back. Ashley Cole definitely feels like he should be better than what he actually is. He's got semi-good pace. Well, I say semi-good pace. It's actually pretty good pace. Defending's good. Physical, not as much. But I feel like it's the other characteristics where he really lacks himself. When we've obviously got like a Capdevia, we've got a Furlan Mendy, who can almost match him from pace to defending to physical. It then becomes all about the rest. Does he give you a Roberto Carlos free kick? Has he got incredible passing? Does he manage to go and have a decent dribble on him, like Alphonso Davies, as we see here? He doesn't offer that option, so I think for me he's going to have to drop down a few. I recommend using SkyCoach at skycoach.gg. Link will be in the description, and make sure on your checkout to use the code JT11 for a discount on your order. As we say that, Herrero is coming into there. Unfortunately, just unusable. But who is usable is going to be our man Rio Ferdinand. This year, surprisingly, because I feel like he was definitely more mentioned, especially the base version at the minimum, more last year and the year before. I've very rarely seen him. I don't know if it's because we haven't had any icon swaps, any SBCs that of a Rio Ferdinand variety. Obviously, the only talking points are base and prime normally for him. His mid normally lacks a little bit of pace, so he's kind of down on the list that little bit more. But Rio's most definitely just not been in the question as much as what I've seen before. So we've got a few other players. Like I said, I'm going to try and not wiggle the mouse all the way down. I know it can get a little bit frustrating with obviously the up and down motion. So we're going to be talking about a few other cards. Bailly, as a matter of fact, is a wonderful, wonderful centre-back. Personally, for me, in terms of the SBC, we had the winter wildcard days, and they did really, really well with a lot of players. Not necessarily everybody, and I'm not expecting every single day and every single SBC to be an absolute banger, but we definitely got a good, fair share of decent cards in there. And Bailly, for the price, I think it was about 200 or so K at the time, was definitely one of them that was actually really nice to have in Ligue 1, mainly because he partners with somebody that's on this list who is not there at the moment. And as we go into the list, Jordi Alba. So he's finally got another upgraded card. He has kind of just been an absolute ghost these past few years and naturally just not had any cards. He's had an in-4, maybe 2, but most definitely not enough to warrant putting him in your team. Not saying that this 88 is going to be any different, as personally, again, it's very lackluster. Solid pace, dribbling's nice, passing's nice, but the defending and physical are just not quite up to scratch, and I think you'd much rather go and pay for a Furlan Mendy rather than going for Alba. And as we talk about 1 foot Centurion, the SBC or the partner of Bailly has came up, and Kimpembe is special. What a card again. His gold card still would be relevant. Like, genuinely, if you are at least solid at the game, you could still use a Kimpembe and get away with him. Naturally, he will get overturned eventually because, well, he's 83 rated, but this 86 is coming at a hefty price, but most definitely a beautiful upgrade from the Kimpembe 83. And if we look at the right backs, Hakimi's just made himself clear as well. Again, another absolutely solid right back that you can get in the game. Personally, is in my right back position. You could probably still use the 84, but I feel like Kyle Walker would have just edged him out of who I would have put there in terms of a gold right back. And as we go for another right back, Jesus Navas, again, very much like Alba. Pace is solid, got a little bit of dribbling, passing's average at best, but the defending physical is just not quite at that level right now. Another solid card to come out of Foot Centurions, it's got to be Arman Asp. In terms of a centre-back, it's not bad. You've got solid passing, dribbling's decent, we've got a bit of defending and physical. Does feel a little bit stocky at times, which I can kind of accept from him. The pace, obviously, element of stuff. You could go with the shadow that will give him 90 pace, or obviously go with more of an anchor to balance that out, giving yourselves about an 86 to 87 pace, as well as then defending and physical upgrades, which I think in terms of a different centre-back kind of out of the blue, I'd give him the props for him. I'm going to give him an AS. Militao doesn't need no introductions, honestly. He is unreal. The Phenoms had some very, very nice cards, and even the Team of the Tournament. Some of the World Cup cards actually came out really, really well, and I think there is a lot of players that are now more towards the S, and this is where you're personally getting the divide of it kind of doesn't matter in the defense as long as you've got one of these top tiers, and there's so much option that it spreads the cost. The demand is not on a one Kimpembe, it's not on a one Virgil, it's spread across multiple players that can definitely give you that top element. And I think in general, Dalot has earned himself a spot there as well. Capdevia, I would say definitely when we get to Team of the Season, Team of the Year, Team of the Season time, maybe Foot Birthday in between, he might start looking down now, even though there is rumours potential of a Team of the Year Heroes coming out. We've had no fully leaks yet, but that is speculation going around that Capdevia might be in it as well. So if he does manage to get another upgrade, that would actually be really nice to see as a 90 plus sort of left back. Again, could top the list very, very comfortably there. And as we go into that, Trent is here as well. Again, one card that unfortunately just, he's all round, but he's just not got the defending stats for me. I think in terms of price, he's coming in okay, but the pace, the defending, the physical needs that big increase. For a 90 rated card, he has got astonishing passing, dribbling's decent, but I do feel like he just needs that one more step up, which is more than likely going to be a Team of the Season for him if they don't give him, for instance, a FUT birthday. He would be really nice as well in a shapeshifter. We always love a centre mid sort of Trent, stats gone up to the moon. That is kind of what we're looking for every single year. Same with Acuna. In terms of this card, a centre mid is what I kind of associate with him. Same with a Tal and all of that good stuff. They are just naturally now moved into that shapeshifter, and everybody wants them. They want the 5-star, everything upgraded to like a 95 rated card, and you've got yourself a winner. In terms of their retrospective position in left back and right back, I feel like they're good, but in terms of the cost between them, I know Acuna was an SBC, there's just so much better for the option of very, very minimal coins. Alaba, another solid centre-back, to be honest, probably lost a little bit more of his uniqueness now in terms of being out for so long. 81 pace, he's still got a little run in him. I feel like in terms of this card, he was definitely a great purchase to start with obviously the player pick, and most definitely will still be somebody that could go into the Real Madrid squad, go into a La Liga squad, even an Austrian squad if you was to build something like that. But I think in terms of the best meta team, I do feel like he's now dropping down characters. Alex Telles as the next one, a Moments that came out a while back now. Again, very, very solid throughout. You can kind of see the resemblance from him and Jordi Alba, which is hilarious that they are in the same league. Obviously not the same nation, but pace is one apart. Shooting's a little bit better on Telles, one better passing, dribbling is less, pretty much 2 between the defending, and then the physicals are 2. It's pretty much the same card, and this sometimes is where we get the repeat cards, and it's all based on what you prefer. Ferland Mendy would be half, maybe in a tenth of the price of both of them, and I'd much prefer it. And then we're going to rattle through a few more. Arejo, always going in S. Where's Cordoba? Cordoba's still absolutely solid in this game. If then we look at Dumfries, I would say more of an AS for him. Again, very similar to what we kind of associate with Acuna and Trent. I would really love a CDM Dumfries like we got out of the position one. Unfortunately, that might make him ineligible for obviously a shapeshifter, but that again would be a phenomenal move for him. As I think right back, we've got our set in stone players now, and unfortunately, I don't think Dumfries would make it. Alfonso, he's going to go in that left back role again. We've got great pace on him, and even though he is a left wing, he can be a left back also, but the defending and physical is just now getting to a point where personally you need a little bit more. He's got solid dribbling, the composure's nice, the passing's solid, and he has got the pace that just absolutely burns past everybody, but unfortunately he just doesn't have that defensive ability. The one person is the opposite, who has more defensive ability but less pace, is Cola. Again, another card that would benefit massively from a pace increase up to at least 80, and this card then would have some real contentions for people's teams. He most definitely, defensive ability is incredible. Same with Cancelo. I feel like he is again due a big upgrade. We did get an out of position which took him into a DM, but that is not good what we need from him. We need that left back role back into him, so he has got a bigger card going forward. We then have Koulibaly and Konate, 2 big centre-backs in the English Premier League. Again, both very, very similar in terms of stats. Obviously 84 pace on both. Passing wise is very, very average, bog standard with both of them, mainly just on the short and long pass, which is what you've got to remember. Even with 70, 80 passing, they could still have 90 short and long, but no free kick accuracy, maybe no curve, they have too much vision. There is obviously a breakdown between the two of them. Both of them incredible defending and physical. Koulibaly does take that lead on that one, and the dribbling is very similar as well. Koulibaly has always been set as the S for me. Konate is definitely 1 to 2 steps away. 88 and 89 rated card, you've got yourself an absolute baller there. And I think the person who takes the spot at the moment is going to be Kounde. I know he does have technically an inform that is a right back, but most definitely this guy is a centre back through and through. Great pace on him, defending physical's nice, in game is just absolutely tight as a rock. Very much like Lucio. In no comparison, because Lucio is one of the best centre-backs on the game. Genuinely, we've seen him so many times. Lucio Virgil, Lucio Maldini Lucio. There is some absolutely nuts cards in terms of these top end, and Lucio most definitely will stay at the top for a very long time. Who knows, we might see a team of the season hero if they do them, or another promo going forward where he gets an even better card. And as we talk about Lucio, Maldini pops himself up. Same as Marquinhos. I actually really like Marquinhos Marquinhos this year. Maldini doesn't need too much introduction. He's coming in at a couple of mil now, and I will always stand by it. He's one of my, if not my favourite defender that you ever get in this game. He is just the statue of icon centre-backs. There is nobody better, and at the minute, I don't see anybody being better. You can get players very similar, and obviously for less of the price, but most definitely, if you're looking at centre-backs, these two and Virgil, you are not getting past. Marquinhos, on the other hand, coming in, and to be honest, I always liked Marquinhos last year with his team of the season, but this year he started a little bit slower. Obviously, it was very much against more pace, and Marquinhos' base just didn't really have that big stride for it. Whereas now we've got the, I want to say this is the Road to the World Cup card. Absolutely incredible. We've got the pace back on him, defensive abilities up there, and he's running away with everything. Now we'll rattle through a few of the Serie A. We've got Bremer as a road to the knockout. He got an inform a couple of weeks ago, or a week ago at least, which was an 85. Unfortunately, just doesn't hit it at all. His 86 is actually quite nice, but he definitely could be due an upgrade now. Same with Bonucci. To be honest, he's probably in the B category now. Started off, really nice upgrade, obviously getting a lot more pace compared to his 85, and it was a nice little card that you could get on the market. But now, he just needs an upgrade. He needs a bigger one, a for birthday or something, if you want to keep Bonucci's kind of relevancy alive. And it's same with Bremer. Now we've got the 86, we can see all of these centre-backs above him that are out way after him, that they now need to kind of give him back that upgrade. Cuadrado, another one from an SBC. Personally, kind of dropping a little bit and not necessarily my favourite right back, but one of the better Serie A centre-back right backs that you can get in the game. Obviously a right mid to start with, but can be changed in game. Same with kind of Carvajal now. I feel like in terms of him, probably more sitting at the AS personally, but most definitely could be due an upgrade very, very soon, as I feel like his path to glory got a semi-nice upgrade, but most definitely didn't give him that level really to put him into that contention of being in people's mains teams, mainly in objective teams. As we get wider and wider, there's more icons. So Bobby Moore is an absolute zero. The pace is absolute trash, but we do have a lifeline with him because Bobby Moore's World Cup card is a joke. A genuine joke. The pace increase from 68 to 80. He's got obviously the same sort of defending, physicals, passing. Everything about the card is very similar, but they've given him so much pace and so much agility balance. This guy is just an absolute nightmare to go against. I genuinely thought he was broken at the start because I saw people, and you kind of see a Bobby Moore. It's very much like a Nesta, very much like a Baresi. You think, okay, we're going to absolutely blitz past him, and yet he was outpacing players, he was out dribbling players at times. I'm like, what is this card? Now seeing obviously the full breakdown of his stats, he is a joke, and he's about 150 I think at the time of recording, and he just is worth every penny. Next we have two left backs in Furlan Mendy, who is going straight to the top, and to be honest, Nuno Mendes, still in everybody's eyes. Furlan is never really got an upgrade prior to footies. I believe he did get a winter wildcard previously, but I want to say it was either winter wildcard or shapeshifters, and it was a CDM rather than a left back. Oh no, was it a right wing? I don't know, but he basically got a different card. Normally we don't get anything till footies, but we've actually got a big upgrade from his 81 or 83 rated card all the way up to his 87 now. Very price point on him, but again, he is still absolutely fantastic, very meta relevant in the game, and I'm glad they've kept up with the facade of getting him higher and higher each year. Nuno Mendes coming in, very cheap, 20k, nothing but magic from him. A great left back that can obviously really rival Cancelo's price. More pace, less defending and physical, but more than likely you'll go for the shadow or anchor with him anyway, because he does have the 92 pace on the base. So he keeps up that speed that Cancelo kind of needs a shadow on him, whereas Nuno could only do with an anchor, get say 95 pace, 96 pace, and get 80 something defending as well as physical. So for me, he offers a very good option and completes the back line of PSG, to be honest. Coman, in terms of centre-back, I'd say probably an A more than a B. I think that would be really harsh for him, but I do prefer him personally as a CDM. Same with Puyol. Not necessarily got the most incredible pace, which is what obviously a lot of these icons are being docked down for, but Puyol just naturally has that ability in-game, whereas defending outweighs it. Very much kind of like Blanc, but without a little bit less of the pace. he naturally just is very good. And I think it's Kohler who I was trying to refer him to. He's got the defensive ability. He doesn't have as much pace, but you can get the shadow on him, max out the defending, and really give it a good go with it. Lahm, personal preference is always going to be CDM. As a right back, I do feel like he's still a little bit clunky, but he's got very, very good all-round stats. So in terms of a right back, if you kind of wanted to push him up a little bit, he has that ability to do it. He's got the passing, he's got the dribbling, a little bit more on that, the physical is needed. So an anchor would be where I'd be looking for in terms of pace increase, as well as the physical and defending. But CDM is definitely the role for him. At right back, he's solid. Mr. Casio himself, again, unfortunately, definitely needs an upgrade, and the counterpart from the same league is Sergio Ramos. Both of them came in during rule breakers, very much like Banusi over here, and they definitely need an upgrade. I feel like PK himself will get an upgrade from an end of era once we kind of get into that end of season, probably more footies, because he now has completely retired from football. I can imagine we are looking at a 95, 96 PK at the end of the game. Ramos technically has already had one of them, even though he keeps coming back every year with a new one. It'll be interesting to see if they do give him some sort of flashback. It would have been a perfect time to give him a Team of the Year flashback if they were trying to do that. I personally ask for every year. If we don't get a Conte, he would be a great flashback. Same as a Dani Alves, who's now in the game, as well as Sergio Ramos, and any other players that have had previous ones. I feel like Thiago Silva could benefit as well if we're looking at centre-backs. All of them are definitely in need of a big upgrade if they can get one, and hopefully we do see more of it during Team of the Year. Starting to get a big list now, so we're going to kind of run through a few of these. Sule, definitely AS. I'm going to go Davinson Sanchez. He is normally, I want to say AS as well. I'm pretty sure when I've ever spoke about him, I'm just trying to make sure I'm not going ahead of myself, but I'm pretty sure he was normally AS in terms of ability. We've used him a handful of times. Nothing in the close past, but definitely we have used him kind of more around a month after he came out, and he was solid, pretty much like most centre-backs. If they've got a big upgrade, they're okay. They're not necessarily going to be absolutely meta, but they do normally put in a good shift. Romero, another one, actually really solid on the game. The defending physical combination as well as 81 pace is brilliant. Obviously got a little bit on the short and long. Dribbling's okay, nothing too crazy, but definitely a solid centre-back that you can get. Same as Rudiger. I think, again, people always forget about him. He kind of needs that next upgrade to take him to a 90. If we can get an inform from him, then honestly the card would be an absolute magician. And I want to say, Cager, unfortunately, he's just not going to be in any sort of rating for me. I feel like he's on the cusp of being A, but unfortunately just is far too stocky for my opinion. I always like someone like a Tomori from AC Milan, who is most definitely going straight in the AS. Same with Virgil and Varane, as we've seen them now. Both of them are just incredible centre-backs. Both coming in very expensive. Can definitely still use both golds if needed, because Virgil, last time I checked, was at $1 million, and I think Varane was at 500 at the minimum as well, which in terms of centre-backs, especially Virgil himself, only a +2 upgrade, you're not going to notice the difference. Varane a little bit more of an upgrade, which definitely you will tell, but is not necessarily going to be a massive drought if you only go and get the 84. And alongside them, Walker has always got to be S. He is one of my favourite right-backs. Same as Wan-Bissaka, I suppose. He's kind of more in that AS still. Again, unfortunately, that road to the knockout can't be upgraded, but if it did, then that most definitely would come in as a much better right-back very shortly. And we might as well finish off with these England centre-backs. White, coming in bog standard, to be honest. He's got good defending, physical. Obviously, the pace is at 80, so you can get it up to 88 at a max. He's a solid card, coming in now cheap, but he's not necessarily going to be challenging Tomori for a spot. And we'll get rid of the final icons. Vidic, I can't do it. I can't put him B, but unfortunately, he just has no relevancy anymore. I don't know what it is. I thought genuinely when Rio was very much at his peak, I thought as soon as they added Vidic, he would be as well. He'd be absolutely next level. But I suppose when I do look at the comparisons between the two in real life, Vidic was a lot more stockier, a lot more built, was a little bit slower to get on the turn, but he would make it work in real life. In FIFA, that doesn't translate amazingly, whereas Rio was more of the tall, slender build, necessarily very quick on that turn, and that does translate very well. So I can understand where that goes. Same with the Pirlo and the Xavi, obviously, comparison. Both incredible players, but in game, they just don't work. They've got too much passing, not enough pace, and they cannot choose between a centre-back and a centre-mid and a CDM and a cam. It just doesn't work for them. I feel like Joey Gomez is definitely got to be due an upgrade at some point. The 84 was nice when he first got released, but now we're definitely looking for a 90. We're looking for a very high-end Joe Gomez to get him back into that kind of chat, but unfortunately right now it isn't going to happen. Same with Delit a little bit now. We're kind of getting a lot of more centre-backs that are in that sort of top category with just masses of pace, as well as the defending physical. Because if we look at Delit, if he manages to get to a 90, say we got a very good, gracious 83, 84 pace, you're looking at then 90 defending, 92 physical. That is a very well-rounded card, as well as then the upgrade to everything else on top. You'd be looking at a solid step up. Upamecano showing it he can step up as well. 84 pace, 86 defending, as well as 87 physical. Another showdown plus SBC that came out of the World Cup, and most definitely a topper tier centre-back that you can get in the game. Kim Min-jae finally getting himself his path to glory since he got the Player of the Month. Again, not a bad card to be honest. I feel like the pace, Serie A kind of aspect of him really comes in quite nicely. Great physicals on him as well, so you can use that shadow and not have to worry about too much on that physicality side of stuff, which is where some of the defenders do lack down, because the chemistry style has to be more an anchor, or they've got 78 physical, or they've got too much defending, so you kind of have to really narrow it down because you're not getting the best out of them. But in terms of kind of good centre-backs as well, Marquez is an absolute just beast. Very much like Kohler in a lot of aspects. The pace-wise of him, not massively impressive, but the defending and physical is absolute monstrous from him. We got a few of these kind of older ones in. Dani Alves comes in quite nice. The only problem with him is the fact that he is a World Cup card rather than obviously in an actual team. Frimpong, again with the Phenoms looking nice. Same with Martinez, to be honest. I used him on the second account and genuinely was an absolute dream to play with. Quick on the dribble, which is just very unusual for some left backs, and genuinely just a solid player all round. We then got the final few. Lukey Shaw, we won't call him that again. Shawry is coming in with a nice 86. Again, like we've said with Luke Shaw, it is such a shame he didn't get the win, as an 88 Shaw would have actually been relatively nice. We've obviously got the two Man U players there, which again is just absolutely EA's luck that they give him the same position in the same promo. But with obviously the two of them, Luke Shaw comes in with more of the pace, and I do think in terms of dribbling, both very similar. Luke Shaw does have a little bit more of a stocky sort of value to him, which, depending on how you want to use him, is good and bad. But the English player that we definitely want to speak about is Tavernier. What a player this guy is. Comes in very cheap with an also Kent part of him as well. That is just a nice partnership straight away, and can get a lot of good links straight off the bat with both of them. Unfortunately, Kent was only 85, whereas Tavernier got the big upgrade to that 87. Great pace, great physicals, looking at that shadow to get the defending up as maximum as possible. And I'm sorry I scrolled, but it's got to be in that S. So we've got one more scroll. Zambrotta, enough said, is just going to go in that S. But then if we come down here, we've pretty much got the kind of final cards. Montiel was going to be in the A, Robertson's going to be in AS, and Zanetti's going to be in AS. Zanetti, most definitely always preferred as a CDM personally. Right back does him okay, 5'10", looking in with a great defensive aspect, but I do think this guy is destined for a CDM. This position can be changed to a centre mid as well with his alternative, so that is a very nice touch from him, but obviously he still can play right back if needed. Montiel, again, not a bad card, comes in with good pace, but very basic. Robertson getting himself a nice upgrade as well. I want to say that's his first... Is that his first upgrade this year? I want to say it is, but I could be absolutely wrong. Robertson has had... No, this is his first inform, or at least first special card. I thought so. Obviously, we had the Team of the Year last year. Whether he gets that this year, I don't think so. I'm pretty sure we don't see him. I want to say Cancelo. Or was it Cancelo last year? It might have been the year before that we got Robertson. Cancelo is obviously going to be one of the bigger shouts that you'd see as left back. But this card has had a nice upgrade. Obviously, from the kind of differences, 10 on the pace, which is always welcomed. We've got 4 passing and defending, 7 physical, and the 3 on the dribbling and shooting. All round, very nice card. But he's coming in at 350, which is a little bit of a price tag so far. And that is going to be the list for today. Let me know down below if you did enjoy and who you would like to see on this tier list next. In general, there is some absolutely incredible centre-backs, defenders, left-back, right-backs that are coming in through the game. And next time, we'll have all of the Team of the Years and any of the promos to follow. So that is all of them together. And if you want to see them all, one more will go like that. Let me know what you think. Make sure you like and subscribe. Peace.